Remember a time when people would see the name George Lucas and cheer? Howard the Duck is a 1986 adventure comedy from director Willard Huyck. The movie opens on the distant planet of Reverse Tatooine. We go to the apartment of our main character, Howard. He's home after a long day of work and, oh yeah, he's a duck. We take a scan around his apartment and, oh, I hope you're ready for duck puns.
Who'd they interview this month?
I can't believe I have to censor duck tits. Howard's room starts shaking and he gets sucked out of the building. I can't believe I have to censor duck tits again. That's foul. A planet where ducks evolved from men? This wormhole thing takes Howard from his home planet of Duck World and drops him on Earth. Wait, his planet's called Duck World? It's like if Earth was called Human World. Anyway, Howard gets dumped into a back alley in Cleveland, Ohio, where he's discovered by some extras from Liquid Sky. Hey, we just found a 3-foot-tall sentient talking duck. What should we do? Let's bring him into this nightclub. Inside the club, the band Cherry Bomb is playing. You're thinking Vixen, but I'm thinking Phantom Blue. Howard gets thrown out and runs into all sorts of hijinks. After getting thrown off Cher's motorcycle, he passes out. Beverly, the lead singer of Cherry Bomb, is walking home and is attacked by some punks. Howard sees this and decides to step in.
That's it. No more Mr. Nice Duck.
He fights them off using his quack foo. The punks take off and Beverly thanks Howard for rescuing her. Realizing he has nowhere to go, she brings him back to her place. While there, Howard notices her duck purse. If he thinks that's bad, he's gonna flip when he sees her down comforter. Howard falls asleep, so Beverly roots through his wallet. More duck puns.
What am I gonna do with you, Ducky?
Well, whatever you do, don't go to Chinatown. Beverly takes Howard to the museum to see her scientist friend Phil. Ladies and gentlemen, Oscar-winning actor Tim Robbins.
Undoubtedly one of Earth's greatest minds here.
Howard and Beverly get into an argument and she leaves.
Don't shed any tears over me, Toots.
You can wallow in your own self-pity.
Howard decides to go get a job. He gets a job as a janitor at a sex club. Did I mention this movie's PG? Everybody's so horned up they don't seem to notice the giant duck walking around. After getting thrown in a hot tub and possibly contracting an STD, Howard quits. Problem is, now he's homeless and jobless.
Oh, think twice, 'cause it's another day for you and me in paradise.
Howard ends up back at the club where he met Beverly. He beats up the band's manager and takes back the money that he owes them.
Jeez, you must be Casey. Meet Howard.
Wow. Hi, Howie.
That is some epic mall hair. Phil shows up backstage and what the hell?
Howard!
Beverly and Howard head back to her place and, oh my goodness. Well, I certainly wasn't expecting interspecies erotica.
You think I might find happiness in the animal kingdom, Ducky?
Like they say, Dal. Love's strange. We could always give it a try.
Okay. Let's go for it, Mr. Macho.
And in this very moment, the Plushies movement was born. Phil, his friend, and Dr. Jennings interrupt them.
Phil.
Oh, I'm sorry, the door was open.
Who leaves their door unlocked in Cleveland? Jennings explains to Howard how he arrived. They were doing an experiment at Dynotechnics. The experiment went wrong and their laser repositioned and hit Howard's planet, which dragged him back to Earth. Howard heads to the lab so they can reverse the laser and send him home. They get there, but something is terribly wrong.
My eyes!
The scientists were messing with the laser and brought down something different. The police show up and arrest Howard.
You were gonna go play sitting duck in a jail cell.
Lieutenant, what's the charge, sir?
Illegal alien.
Beverly distracts the cop and rescues Howard. While trying to escape, they run into Jennings. They get away and Jennings explains to them something is living inside of him.
I'm not Jennings anymore. The transformation is complete. I am now someone else.
Cobra Commander? So a scientist, a rock star, and a 3-foot-tall duck walk into a bar. Jennings explains he's a dark overlord and was brought to Earth the same way Howard was. He shows them his keycard and explains how he's going to bring the rest of his kind down to Earth. Some hunters get into a brawl with Howard and try to kill him. Beverly tells Jennings they have his key cards, so he uses his power to blow up the diner.
You can't take the heat. Get out of that kitchen.
Jennings knocks out Howard, takes the key, and gets away with Beverly. Well, this movie just got really dark. Tentacles? Upskirts? They trying to appeal to the hentai crowd? Howard meets up with Phil so they can go and rescue Beverly. Over here, by this conveniently sized hole in the fence, we find this conveniently placed ultralight.
That's really profound, Howard. Could you find the toolbox?
Yeah, I know why you want a toolbox.
Because you're a toolbox? They take off and the cops chase after them. Jennings stops at a nuclear power plant and gets in with a tour group. Jennings easily gets into the reactor to absorb its energy. Security here is terrible. He heads back to the truck, and wouldn't he be radioactive? Well, it's still more believable than Indy surviving a nuclear blast because he was inside of a refrigerator.
Shut it down! What the hell's wrong with you? I want to see your license, Jack.
I am the Dark Overlord. Whatever you do, don't look on my hard drive.
Howard and Phil make it to the lab to stop the Dark Overlord and rescue Beverly. Phil and Howard break into the weapons room and take the BFG. Jennings puts the Sega VMU in the machine and begins the process to bring down the rest of the Overlords.
You're in big trouble now.
Yeah, shut up.
Oh yeah? Well, the idiot and the duck are gonna stop you. Howard's facing off with the Dark Overlord, and did I mention that this is ridiculous? Howard blasts Jennings with the disintegrator, and it doesn't kill him, it just releases the Dark Overlord. This thing is badass. Howard gets into the cart, and it sure is a good thing this is the perfect size for him. He blasts the Overlord with the disintegrator and kills him. He then destroys the machine, which stops the other Overlords, but means he'll be stranded here. Now with the Overlords defeated and Howard stuck here on Earth, he's free to be Cherry Bomb's full-time manager. Nothing left to do but sing the Howard the Duck theme song.
They call him Howard the Duck. No way to conceal it. Then the feathers touch, I rip him apart.
The concert's over and they head backstage.
Not bad for a duck from outer space.
You were great, Ducky.
She's totally gonna fuck that duck. The film was shot over 5.5 months, mostly in California and Ohio, for $37 million. Director Willard Huyck was an old friend of George Lucas's. They met in film school and went on to work together in Lucas's second feature film, American Graffiti, with Huyck's future wife, Gloria Katz. After directing the original Star Wars, Lucas concentrated on producing. On top of producing the 2 Star Wars sequels, he worked on everything from Raiders of the Lost Ark to Labyrinth. He approached Huyck and Katz, telling him about this comic he'd been reading. It had film noir elements and a very dry sense of humor. He wanted to adapt the Howard comic to film and have Huyck direct. This was actually the first of the Marvel comics to be adapted to film. The studio was a little skeptical, but considering that Lucas just made a string of massively successful films, they greenlit the feature. Originally he wanted it to be animated, but the studio insisted it be live action for a big summer release. Huyck and Katz took the Howard origin story from the comics and modified it for film. Howard was originally supposed to be a full-size puppet, but after many trials, it just didn't work. Lucas paid $2 million out of his own pocket to build a full Howard suit and animatronic head. The head was incredibly advanced and was one of the first animatronics to be remote-controlled. They had a team of animators that worked on all the facial movements. Originally, the person inside the suit was a 12-year-old boy. They had a stand-in dwarf actor, Ed Gale, to be his replacement for night shoots. Eventually, it became clear that the 12-year-old wasn't working out, so they gave the role over to Gale. This was his first role, and after this he went on to be the actor wearing the Chucky suit in Child's Play. For the voice of Howard, Martin Short, Rob Paulson, Townsend Coleman, and even John Cusack tried out, but the job went to Chip Zien. Lots of actresses tried out for the role of Beverly, and after many auditions, they went with Leah Thompson. Katz liked her performance in Back to the Future, which helped her to get the role. Thompson designed her look to be a combination of Cyndi Lauper and Madonna. Since Lucas frequently worked with dwarves, he had no problem getting lots of actors for the Duck World scenes. The diner scene had so many effect shots, that alone took a month to shoot. The final sequence was filmed inside of a naval institute in California. The amazing Phil Tippett designed and animated the Dark Overlord. He named him Alan. The Howard the Duck theme was written by Thomas Dolby and George Clinton. Dolby wrote most of the other songs and worked with Thompson and the band on their choreography. The girls were all given singing lessons, so while a backup band is playing the instruments, That really is Leah Thompson and the other girls singing. John Barry, the Oscar-winning composer of the James Bond movies, did the score. Lucas's ILM studio handled the awesome visual effects. When the movie was first screened, some audiences loved it and some hated it. Then when the critics got a hold of it, they did nothing but trash it. The movie was a financial flop, and Lucas, who had just dumped a ton of money into building Skywalker Ranch, sold off some of his assets to recoup his loss. He sold his animation studio to Steve Jobs, which was the studio that would become the powerhouse known as Pixar. Hike's previous film, Best Defense, was also a flop, and with 2 high-profile failures in a row, he never directed again. Lucas told Hike and Katz that in the future the film would find its audience, and you know what? He was right. While the film is weird, you can tell there was a lot of passion put into it, and it's gone on to become a cult classic. While the movie itself is entertaining, it's worth it to just watch Howard. I mean, look at the expressions they were able to get in his face. This is still impressive now. Imagine how it looked in 1986. I can, to a certain degree, understand how mainstream audiences were not really getting into the movie. You've got a smart-ass talking duck, which seems like something that would be for kids, but then you have some blatant sexual moments, making it more for adults. Not to mention the ridiculously dark final act. I can just imagine the amount of kids crying in the theater. While a lot of people still consider this one of the worst films of all time, it's just unfair. It's an easy target. This movie is a goofy, occasional black comedy adventure with a great cast, impressive visuals, and overall, it's just one of those movies where you sit back and enjoy the absurdity. This movie does not deserve to be seen as one of the worst films of all time. Sit down and watch I Accidentally Domed Your Son. After that, you'll be nominating this for an Oscar.
Get that planet on the phone. Ain't no time to waste. Tell him he ain't coming home. Done joined the human race. They call him Howard the Duck. No way to conceal it.
Any questions?
Yeah. Where are my pants?
On the distant planet of Duck World, strange things are afoot.